Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. It is time for the 5th episode of Midweek Magazine, and this one's going back a little bit. This is from 2011, the March-April issue of Strategy and Tactics, number 267, with the featured game being the Russian Civil War 1918-1922. This is a rework of an old SPI game from 1976. So we're going to start by looking at the magazine, and then I'll show you the components for the game. And the plan is to hopefully do a little bit of gameplay from the game just to kind of show what the game looks like if you're unfamiliar with it. Obviously, both this one and the original are, older, so they're not anything that's particularly current here. So we're going to start off by taking a look at the magazine. As you would expect, you've got some older, you'll see some older stuff in here based on the age of the magazine. A nice ad for the Origins Game Fair from 2011 in Columbus, Ohio. I live in Ohio, so I am familiar with that, as of course many people are, even if you don't live in Ohio. We've got our table of contents, another ad, and then we have our analysis article on the Russian Civil War by Joseph Miranda. He is the one who did the redesign of the game. You've got a white guard poster which says "For United Russia," slaying the Red Dragon, I guess. White Knight and the Red Dragon. Over here we have the Russian Civil War map. So you can see this was a very, Russia's the world's largest country, so it's no surprise that the war would take place over vast distances across Eurasia here. And we go to next page. We got a thing about the German Freikorps in the Baltic from 1919 and their organization. There's a picture of a younger Lenin from 1895. Another map showing summer, autumn 1919. Then we have some more photos of people involved. We have the 1920-21 map, and you can see the when the Poles got involved here with the Russo-Polish War of 1920-21. Got an armored train, forces of the White Army in 1918. A communist poster, "Death to Capital" or "Death Under the Heel of Capital" from 1919. The view of the well-armed Czech Legion train in eastern Siberia. Another map showing the situation in Siberia, Turkestan, and the Far East here on this side. This is a nice long article, as you can see, and it ends here on page 16. Then we have an ad on the Folio game series, which was, I guess, new at that time, and the choices that were available. Of course, there have been more since then. Then we have on design. So here's where Joseph Miranda wrote, a one-page article, I guess, about designing this game. And you can see a portion of the map here and how it was broken out with Russia, the Ukraine, White Russia, or Belarus. The Cossack areas is what they call that, I guess. Then we have an article on Marengo 1800, of course, a battle from the Napoleonic Wars with the man himself here. This is by Coley Cowan. You've got a map of the Marengo campaign. Of course, this is in what is now Italy. French order of battle, the Austrian order of battle. Battle map. Another painting, another map. Nice long article, as always, continued on page 32. Rewriting History, Napoleon and Marengo. Strategy and Tactics always is a very interesting magazine. with a lot of historical articles in it that are pretty interesting in general. Here we have the rules for the Russian Civil War. Development and design, I guess, development, I guess, was by Joseph Miranda. Of course, this was originally a James Dunnigan design from the original design, with Redmond Simonson doing the physical systems and graphics, Frank Davis doing game development. Um, some familiar names in here. We've got Kevin Zucker down here doing production. So, but the redo here, you had Joseph Miranda, Ty Bomba, and Joe Youst doing a lot of the work. Larry Hoffman doing the counters. And then production, you can see some of the familiar names from Decision, like Dr. Cummins and Callie Cummins as well. Chris Fawcett, Brian Train, some familiar names in here too. And you can see here it comes with solitaire rules, right? This was originally, I think, a 3 to 6 player game, but you've got solitaire rules here. So we have a decent amount of rules here. This is not an overly simplistic game. This is, mid-level complexity. And we won't go through the rules too much because I do plan on doing a game through of the solitaire version so that you can see the game in action, and we'll talk about some of these rules. The red high command, you can see Lenin and Trotsky counters right there. Assassination, of course, purges. Then you have some randomization chit explanations. Blue interventionist or green nationalist control. Got a U.S. out marker for the U.S. pulling its forces out, I suppose. Air raids, assassination of the Tsar, Comintern, cordon sanitaire, armistice. Woo! It's early in the morning. Sorry, Central Power's out, and you've got all kinds of stuff in here. I mean, this is as you would expect from a game originally designed by Jim Dunnigan. This is very thorough and well designed. And obviously, this is just the second edition. The rules, as I mentioned, pretty long. Got major Allied military intervention. One of the big what ifs of the 20th century history was the possibility of the Allies launching a major military intervention to defeat the Bolsheviks. This was extremely unlikely given European war weariness and the general political situations, but players may use this rule to explore the possibility. Yes, it was unlikely that after 4 years of the First World War that the Allies would pour troops into Russia to continue fighting. Much as the same thing was true at the end of the Second World War, of course, there were some who pushed, Patton in particular, to fight the Soviets, but that wasn't going to happen either. Then we have our solitaire rules, some game analysis, players' notes, simulation design notes from the SPI edition. So these were written, I suppose, probably by Jim Dunnigan. You have notes on all of this stuff here. Some things, or maybe this was written on maybe it was Joseph Miranda that wrote it. Oh, this is the Decision Games edition notes. So those are by Joseph Miranda. Okay. So as you can see, there is a lot in this design. And then we have another ad here for Folio Game series. Of course, they were talking about Marengo, and we have an article on Marengo. And here's the Folio game for it. Work in progress, Falkland Showdown. That was in the episode, I want to say episode, but it's issue 269. So you have that. We have some stuff for your information. Did you know at present the U.S. Air Force daily runs a combined total of 50 unmanned area vehicle high-altitude reconnaissance orbits over Iraq and Afghanistan? Of course, this was 2011 during the fighting in those areas. Artillery at Waterloo. Voyage of the Wolf. German Admiral Richard Scheer reevaluated his okay, so it went Oh, they made I guess the Germans put together a commerce raider and sent it out into the into the Indian Ocean, all the way out past Australia, around New Zealand. It's interesting. Casualties among Greek generals in phalanx warfare. Chalon, Folio Game. William the Conqueror post-conquest article by William Struck. Norman Castles, 1085 invasion scare. Highway to the Reich, Operation Market Garden. Tanks of Futures Past, U.S. experimentation during the 50s and 60s. So this was from World War II. American troops in an M8 passing the Arc de Triomphe after the liberation of Paris. Unit organization. There's the Pentomic, which was not very long lasting. Alphabet soup. Some cool, interesting looks here for some of this experimentation. I mean, look at this. M50A1 Ontos from the U.S. Marine Corps 1st Anti-Tank Battalion, May 1966. That's an interesting monstrosity. That's a lot of gun barrels, I guess. M114. Okay. And here we have Excalibur games available from Decision Games. More game ads, basically, with a description of what each one is. And then we have media reviews. These are some book reviews, it looks like to me. Question of Command, Counterinsurgency from the Civil War to Iraq by Mark Moyer, reviewed by Terence Coe. And then we have The Grand Strategy of the Byzantine Empire by Edward Lutwak, reviewed by Jeffrey Bigongiari. And another thing here from With Custer at the Death by Robert F. Burke. This one, it was available from Strategy and Tactics Press. An ad for the Compass game, Steel Wolves. And on the back, you've got their look back 50 issues ago in 217 was Lost Battalions, a World War I game. And then we have an Austro-Prussian War one, 100 issues ago. The North German Plain, which was part of a series on the hypothetical World War III. That was 150 issues ago in Strategy and Tactics 117. And then 200 issues ago in Strategy and Tactics 67 was Stonewall in the Shenandoah. March Along with Stonewall Jackson, Mark Herman, and Al Nofi in the 1862 Valley campaign. Cool. All right, and then we have an ad council ad on the back. And now let's take a look at the games. We'll start with the counters. So for some reason they were kind of split up here, but this would be counter sheet 1 if it was together. But we have 2 half sheets. So these are markers here. So you have various control markers for various nations that can take part. Everything from your Western countries, Britain, the French, the U.S. We have Japan, the Freikorps, Turkey, option, international control, I guess. And other markers, general strike, armistice reinforcement, cordon sanitaire, ice march, etc., etc. Double-sided, as you might expect. You got random on here, I guess. And then we have here, we have some leaders, it looks like. These would, I guess, be the white Russian leaders, or the white forces leaders. And then we've got units from various countries, including the whites, of course. And then also we have CP, Central Powers, I guess. So Germans and Austro-Hungarians, I suppose. The French, Romanians, the British, etc., etc. Americans, Japanese, Czechs, Turks, Chinese, Freikorps and International, and then more markers. Double-sided, of course. And then on sheet 2, which would look like this, where it put in one group, we have our red forces, headed up, of course, by Lenin and Trotsky. And you can see the other leaders. There's a familiar name right there. We've got their forces, of course. And you got some Polish forces, etc. The Tsar, turn marker, other side. And then we got a whole bunch more of the markers with stars on them for, I'm assuming, red control, communist control. And the eagle, the imperial eagle, I guess, on the other side. Now let's take a look at the maps. Okay, so here we have the map. This is most of the map. The bottom is cut off, but you can see this would be the Western map. This would be, so map 1, map 2. You have player areas. D, E, and F are up there. A, B, and C are at the bottom, which is off camera. But you can see there's all kinds of tables and things on here. You have your turn record track. You have your random event table, your terrain key. Over here we have number of randomizer picks for the randomizer phase. But you also have the map with all the areas. So Russia in red, really large, obviously. And then you have, of course, the Baltic states over here, a little slice of Poland and Germany, and Austria, off map basically, because this is not a playable area. You have Belarus, or as it was called then, White Russia. You have the Ukraine. You have the Cossack area, Central Asia. And over here you have Siberia, kind of in a condensed form, basically as a path for the railroads, I would say. I mean, Vladivostok is over here, of course. And then you have like Omsk and Ekaterinburg. Here's Moscow. So you get the idea. There's at the bottom, we do have a purge results table, combat results table. Here, if I move this up, you can at least see what they look like. So this would be the bottom part of the map. If we do this, you can see the bottom part of the map, although this isn't perfect, but there. So you get a look at the bottom section that, basically this section here was what was not visible. So you can see you've got player A is over here, player B and player C. Purge result table. The regional color codes. Over here we have the combat result table. So the CRTs right here. We have in a sequence of play, abbreviated here. Player turn series, first player turn, game turn, interphase, another terrain key here. Because as I said, this was originally a game that could be played by up to 6 players. So you had, basically A, B, C on this side and D, E, F at the top. So some of the tables are repeated on either side of the map. So the map is nice, thick paper. Everything looks pretty nice here. Decision usually has decent components in their magazine games. But that is going to do it for this look at strategy and tactics. I'm sorry, it's kind of small because I had to zoom the camera way out. So this is our midweek magazine for episode number 5. I will try to do a gameplay of this in the not too distant future, but for now that's going to do it. As always, if you would like to ask questions, make comments, please feel free. Please consider liking, sharing, subscribing, etc., as I always ask. But that will do it for this one. I will try to get this game played at some point. That will just come up as a regular gameplay video, but I will mention that it is part of the Midweek Magazine series. It just won't be labeled as such. And that'll be sometime in the not too distant future, I hope, perhaps in December, maybe in January, something like that. It depends on how much other stuff in the pipeline cuts it in line, so to speak. So that is everything. I'm Joe. This is the Hexed Encounter channel. And until next time, as always, happy gaming.